Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Judas. Before I continue, oh my god, it's a little monster, that's so damn cute. Leaving monster aside, we are playing as Judas, which means we only have 1 red health, and because this is a new mod, obviously this is uncharted territory, we don't really know what's going on, so anything can kill us, especially some new enemies. If they have champion variants, they just run into us and we die, but I guess that danger is also the passion that burns us and it kind of keeps us moving forward. Exploration, we're just hoping to see some new things happening, and especially in these early days of dailies, I guess, we're just trying to explore just to get a feel for things before we actually get into it and try to deconstruct the game and kind of make it less interesting. So the first thing that happened here is we encounter a treasure room with enemies in it, which is just like, what the hell, you know. Up until this point, everyone thought that treasure rooms were the safe haven. You thought that nothing can actually get you there. But apparently in Afterbirth Plus, this is not a thing anymore because they can have enemies. I just hope that if there are enemies in treasure rooms, that they are very manageable, in the sense that you don't have these treasure rooms which just have super hard enemies in them. I think that would make it fun, but if the enemies are manageable and if you can always beat them only if you're paying attention, then I think that it's a good change. No, not a good change maybe, but it's a welcome change in the sense that it brings some freshness to the game, and it kind of makes us more strategic, you know, because now you have to think, should I enter a treasure room, depending if maybe I don't have enough health. And I think all of those micro decisions in the end add up to a game that is much more interesting and skillful to play. And like I said, now it might seem very boring or maybe weird to us that treasure rooms can have enemies, especially because up until this point we've actually learned ourselves or kind of conditioned ourselves to think that they are safe havens. But apparently, you know, not anymore, and it's very interesting to see that. It's very interesting to see that those changes kind of applied in the game. I never really thought, I thought about it, should treasure rooms have enemies in them, and then maybe I thought, should treasure rooms have enemies in them, but if they have enemies, maybe you would get a better reward out of it. And in a sense, we did get a better reward out of it, because we have an item, but we also got half a spirit heart, which is obviously very valuable if you're trying to get a devil deal, because getting just a half a spirit heart does give you the chance to actually pick up any devil deal that you might get, and that one item can really carry the run, especially on Judas, because he does have that high starting damage. But regarding that, we also got in the curse room and got a new item, experimental horn, I think, or like Loki's horn or something like that. But what it did apparently is it gave us these orange shots, which apparently were going to multiple enemies. They were penetrative and I think spectral as well, but I'm not really sure if they were spectral, because we also had pupilla duplex. So I'm not really sure what they do. Apparently what it seemed to do is that it gave us a penetrative shot effect every few rooms, or maybe just every few shots. It was a random chance, I assume, like any other tier stat effect. But I didn't really have the chance to test it out, and apparently it doesn't work with Mom's Knife, but that's probably maybe because Mom's Knife already has the effect of that item, you know, in the form of penetrative shots, so I'm not really sure what's going on there, so I really couldn't get a feel for that item. We also got experimental treatment, and experimental treatment is an item that was universally not really loved, especially in the previous versions, because what it does, it basically randomizes your stats, and if you're having a good run, it can actually make it really poopy, and you don't really want to do that, because obviously why would you want a bad run? But in some situations it was actually quite a good item, because it contributed to the spawn transformation, but not only that, you also had a chance of just getting a better run overall, and I think on average, if you pick up spawn, the stats, you actually get more stats than you lose. So, you know, in that regard, it was actually quite useful in some situations. But apparently, what they did now is every time you enter a new room, your stats change, which is just the most ridiculous thing I've heard. Like, you take this item that is can be good in some fringe scenarios, but now you make it even more random and maybe unreliable. And I think that's what makes this item go from zero. Not from zero, but from like a 3 to a 0, because now I don't see any use for it, and maybe there's just some combination of items that is kind of making our stats change rapidly, but just, you know, by Occam's razor, just by the simplest principle, I think experimental treatment got changed to have that effect, and I'm not really sure if I like that, but then again, you know, it might have some other hidden benefits that we're just not aware of yet, and I trust Admin as the creator to actually balance these things out. But obviously, even if it's just a random item that randomizes your stats, it can still have some value as a maybe fun item, not a fun item, but maybe more of a vanity item that just does something fun to your run. With that said, we did die because we had very low range. Experimental treatment took our range, and I decided to pick up Eve's Mascara, which is an item that you should never pick up because it's an objective DPS down. What it does, it's supposed to increase your damage and decrease your shot and tear speed, but the damage you lose by doing that is usually not worth it because your DPS, overall DPS, goes down. And especially because we had low range, we shouldn't have picked it up, because then our range got super low. If it was low before, now it was super low, and we just weren't able to hit any enemies at all because basically we had to charge our knife for like 20 seconds to even shoot it at a medium range. So we lost that, I guess, advantage of throwing the knife, which means we had to let the enemies go near you. And obviously when there are 4 enemies which group on you from 2 from each side, you can't really fight against that, and we ended up dying, which was kind of disappointing. But at the same time, you know, me picking up these items which I knew were bad before, but in hopes of maybe that they were better now, just kind of led me to these situations. I'm not sad I did it, because I think at some point you have to pick them up just to see if things change. You don't not want to really miss out on a particular item if it's maybe more fun or maybe even better. So yeah, you know, things turned out how they did. Either way, you know, I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.